Hello everyone. Just making a little note that the way that I've actually built up these videos is a bit different than how I initially intended. And the reason for that is, as I did this review of the Techtree, which is going to be following this little introduction now, I didn't expect it to take, 55 minutes. I expected it to take 20 minutes. However, I was bloody wrong by a heavy margin. As such, there's going to be two videos. One is going to actually be showcase the Techtree in a melee scenario, even though I don't think that's too fitting. And this video shows the Techtree. And I guess there will also be a bit of background in the first video, I would think. I haven't actually recorded that yet, which will basically talk about how I actually got here making the campaign Arcanum Cruade. Sad little story about Garethos and losing campaign data, and a lot of complaints. But that's neither here nor there, so enjoy. Hello everyone. So this is my test map, which just has basically a bunch of enemies that I can attack and check how everything's going. So I've just got a new mic and a new setup, still working it out, and I feel if I use my keyboard it's going to be very noisy. So there's going to be a lot of actually pressing things, despite the fact that everything hopefully is correctly, that's the word I'm looking for. Hopefully everything has the right key binding, but if not, it is what it is. So just going over the Askarian Empire's units, we've got a standard ones, Town Hall, Keep, Castle. Each of them have some slightly different supplies to normal, because in this campaign I'm looking for bigger supply caps, and also more powerful units are going to have a greater supply needs, such as the Zodiac. Now Town Hall creates two things. It creates labourers, but it can also make mercenaries, which relatively quick to create, but they have a time life, and then they just expire and turn to a bunch of coins. Except I think in Reforged at the moment the coins are actually a bit off. I'm not sure why this cool arms is there, but I had removed it. But that's obviously a bit of an oversight, which I'll have to deal with in a moment. Lumber mill, that's just a default lumber mill. Good your standard improved lumber harvesting and your masonry upgrades. Blacksmith, again, relatively simple. We've got two types of upgrades for the Askarian Empire. We have our melee iron forged swords and iron plating. Applies to your non-magical units, your infantry, Roderick over here, to our knights, to our mercenaries, and a couple of other things as well. The ballista and zodiacs. So these guys right here. And then we have our blessed weaponry, imbued weaponry, and consecrated weaponry, which applies to archers, inquisitors, paladins, and the minions. I do know the constellations themselves don't actually get an upgrade, except when it comes to their armor. Upgrade from the blessed armor. Effectively anything that could be magically imbued or imbued with holy energy, reinforced with holy energy, gets magic imbued. Archers, they fall into this category simply because they can have enchanted flaming arrows, and we also needed a bit of diversity in here, so you couldn't just upgrade one thing, which makes everything go well. Market is still something that I'm working with. I know that the Askarian Empire don't actually have many air units. The only ones they have are these Dominions, which I'll talk about later. As such, they need a means to bringing enemies down. So we've got a couple of ranged we've got our spellcasters, the sorcerers, and the cleric that can attack air units as well as archers. However, other than that, we only have constellations, and even then, I'm not sure if they can actually attack air units. These are the only air units that we have in the Askarian Empire, so therefore we needed something for them to actually use to bring them down, and that would be the net. So I'm not necessarily sure what sort of items we're going to have in the marketplace, but the marketplace is a handy little thing because it's also got to purchase gold and purchase lumber. So for a bit of an excess on either of these, you can effectively go purchase the other, so you can balance it out. It's not the most efficient way to use it, but hey, when you're in a shortfall of one of the resources, pretty handy. And there's certain divine interventions which will allow you to make this more cost effective as well. So then we have the garrison. So the garrison is basically this barracks, pretty simple stuff. Creates your infantry, your archers, and your knights. Everything from the garrison, all the units produced from these can also upgrade into elite units for a little bit of a charge. So if you have excess coin, again, you can upgrade them, make your army a bit better. We've got some standard upgrades. We've got defend, we've got flaming arrows, which effectively gives your archers searing arrow, but also allows them to get a certain siege upgrade. But we just put Warp 10 in, upgrade that. At the moment we've just got a default sort of damage, but also once you got that, It defaults to
I'll check
a
it
flaming
out.
attack, which does extra damage, obviously, to buildings.
Sure.
But when attacking normal units, you can put flaming arrows on. So again, we have longbows, simply attack range upgrade, and a flare shot, which allows, well, flare to see invisible units and also gain sight of areas. And finally, we have animal war training, which allows knights and paladins to use the cavalry charge ability, which is a simple charge forward, stun, and damage a single unit. Going on to our workshop, we have our standard ballista, which can learn impaling bolt, which allows them to attack ground and also impale enemies beyond the initial attack. We have our zodiacs, which are slow moving tank-like units with taunt and a couple of other goodies. They're pretty bloody powerful. Then we have constellations, which also have a series of cool abilities, and that's why they're also limited to a maximum of 7 of these units. Simply because if you have too many of them, you could typically just spam one ability, which could just absolutely annihilate an enemy. So I want to try and make spellcasters extremely powerful, but also limit them in some sense. So that's going to be a balancing thing that's going to be a bit difficult to manage. As for abilities here, we've got Impaling Bolts, which I talked about earlier. We have Cluster Catalyst, which gives your cannon towers a small AoE stun. Just demonstrate that. I'll demonstrate it later. I'll research everything soon. And then we have Mana Burn, which allows constellations to Mana Burn. Again, 7 constellations max, otherwise you could just absolutely destroy an enemy's mana, just like that. We have Imbued Plating, which effectively increases magic resistance for the constellation, and also gives them some extra armor. So in this campaign, I've got it so all mechanical units can be damaged by spells, and as such, you know, they have a little bit more HP to compensate for that. Well, I thought they did, but the ballista apparently has bugger all HP, despite pretty sure I increased its hit points. There's some other upgrades, such as Seismic Enchantment, which basically gives a blind stun for the Zodiac, as well as a core upgrade, which gives Mana Flare to constellations and ability called Overcharge to our Zodiacs, which I'll show you later, as well as some passive benefits. Then we have our Inquisition Chamber, which is our spellcaster building, which can summon sorceresses, and also Inquisitors, which are kind of like Spellbreakers in a sense, and they serve a similar niche, but I'll go talking to them later. We've got Control Magic, which is as per the default, Purging Glaive, which is just a single target attack, which also purges the enemy. We've got this Temporal Attunement, which basically makes the Inquisitor's spell shield have a reduced cooldown, and also makes it so when they do have this spell shield triggered, they get a bit of mana back. Sorcerer's Training just gives some additional abilities, which I'll talk about later, and Elemental Conjuration allows sorceresses to summon a fire elemental. However, each sorceress can only do this once, so you're limited by the number of sorceresses you can, and once you've got 8 of them, you'll only be able to get 8 fire elementals. You can't just keep on spamming them, so make good use of it. In addition, the Inquisition Chamber also has mana, and that mana can be used to basically give some mana back to a unit, an allied unit. So train away the mana from the Inquisition Chamber, and you can drain up and increase the mana of a unit running by. So going on to that, we also have guard towers and scout towers, basic as hell. Then we have these energy spires. So the energy spires are kind of unique in the sense that normal labourers can't create them. So normal labourers have some basic things that they can create. However, you need to upgrade to a foreman to create some of the more unique structures like the energy spire, harbour, and celestial beacon. So for the energy spire, you're going to need a foreman to create that. Now the energy spire comes with a bunch of passive sort of benefits. So the energy spire can repair structures at a range, and they do it at a much more efficient rate than labourers and foremen. However, it's also a lot more expensive.
Yes, my friend.
So more efficient, more expensive. They also have the ability Energy Shield, which allows them to envelop a nearby structure with an energy shield, protecting it from some harm. Now, the amount of energy spires that you have are limited. You can only have 8 of them, so you need to place them around your base strategically. In addition, they can research some passive abilities, such as Energy Field, which increases the mana regeneration of structures nearby. However, it does not increase the energy spire itself's mana regeneration. So you kind of want to build the energy spires by other energy spires so that they, you know, give each other mana, which then means you can use more energy shields on structures when you're being attacked. In addition, you've got a reinforcing field, which just increases the armor of your structures nearby. We have our standard supply production thing, which is just residence. And again, I can't remember if I mentioned this, but we got a lot more supplies. Then we have our Tempest Chapel. This creates holy units, clerics, which are quite important, which I'll get to why they're important soon. But they come with a bunch of support type abilities. Then we have paladins, which have a mixture of offensive and support capabilities. Again, I'll talk about them later. Tempest Chapel also has mana and has purification, which basically dispels a unit and also gives him a passive move speed for a set amount of time.
What is it?
There we go, we got our dispel, and now we've got some much quicker movement. Probably not as impressive on Labourer, but hey, some people might get some impressive stuff. Cleric Adept training just gives them the ability to cast an ability, which I'll show you later, and also gives you another ability. I mean, that's pretty common with spellcasters. Then we have Sacred Valor, which allows paladins to use a passive sort of berserk type ability, which I'll again talk about in a moment. Finally, we have our Celestial Beacons, which create the strongest unit of the Askarian Empire, which are the minions, which can cycle between both solar and lunar form. However, to make them cycle, you have to research a various attunement, either lunar or solar attunement, so you can only have one type of dominion at a time. At the moment, I've got both, but technically you can only have one. It's lunar dominion, it's better at night time, and it's better at life regeneration, mana regeneration, and in fact during daytime it has none. It also has more supportive capabilities, whereas the solar dominion has much more aggressive, offensive capabilities, and is obviously better in the daytime. And we have an ability which just gives him some extra stuff and makes him a bit more beefy. Finally, the Celestial Beacon also has a ability that it can cast, which effectively just gives increased armor, increased attack, and increased HP regeneration. So, nice thing to just have popping off when you're being attacked at base, or if you're just spoiling a unit and want them to run off feeling a little bit stronger. The final unit, which can only have, well, structure, sorry, that you can only have one of, is the Altar of Kings. And it shouldn't be Altar of the Kings, it should be Altar of the Three, but that's neither here nor there, that needs to be changed. And there's also a heart over here, but I haven't played around with that yet. So the Altar of the Three is kind of the main thing that differentiates the Askarian Empire from everybody else. Creating this also creates a conduit to the Three, or an Empyrean conduit, which allows you to go and dedicate yourself to an Empyrean of some form, which we will get onto in a moment. Now going back to the clerics, these are sort of an extra resource. We've got our gold, lumber, we've got our supplies, but then we also have what I'm calling Divine Favor, which is the mana of this conduit to the Three.
Yes, my friend.
Now there's a passive mana regeneration here that comes with it, and you can boost it up with an energy spire nearby with this energy field. However, you can also increase it with either Spiritual Overflow, which increases mana regeneration, or by having our clerics and using their Divine Intercession, which basically just increases mana regeneration by a significant amount. And you can also upgrade your Altar of the Three a couple of times so that you can fit more clerics on it, so you can have a maximum of I think it's 7 clerics at once.
Research complete. Is someone injured? I am
your servant. You can only have limited amount of clerics, doing that, but mana regeneration goes up pretty quickly. So, Divine Favor. Now let's get a couple of these upgrades all going. Let's go pick them all up, so that we can then show you everything.
Research complete.
So, sorry, you're going to get a lot of research completes, but here's what it is.
Research complete. Research complete.
Now, as I go talking about the Askarians in the line,
research complete.
I will just note that you can unlock certain special upgrades depending on which Empyrean you're going to dedicate yourself. So Empyreans in this world are effectively gods or major gods, and then you have Archons, which are lesser gods of sorts.
Research complete.
Do I have all my upgrades? I think I do, except for this one now. And while I have it, here's a cannon tower, here's a cluster explosion, which stuns enemies, and also this little burning trail.
What is it?
Here we have what happens when you upgrade a unit.
Yes, my lord.
You simply do that. So we've got all our infantry units over here, so we can simply just go upgrade them all, which just boosts your HP, and attack. Same thing with our archers, just like that, as I've shown. So maybe we'll also just go and start showing off all the various units. So here we have the Fire Elemental. This one can be summoned by our sorceresses. Maybe we'll summon a fresh one. Again, here we have Summon Fire Elemental, gives a bit of details and notes the 1 spell charge. You summon the Fire Elemental, and well, now no spell charges remain, and then we have Fire Elemental for a fair bit of time. There is some requirements here, but effectively you've got 3 abilities, 2 passives, and an active ability on your Fire Elemental. We have Consuming Flames, which doesn't show the dot, but effectively what happens is every time the Fire Elemental hits something, you get this little fire here, which I think does a little bit of damage over time, and it also slows the attack speed of units hit. We have Permanent Immolation, which is Permanent Immolation. I hope everybody knows what that is at this stage, given this game's been out for 20 years. I'm sure everybody does. Principality, I will show you down the line. We'll talk about that soon. This is a special unit that can only be summoned using one of these god powers. Same thing as Harbinger of Mirak.
This better be
Spell
good.
Saint. I guess I'll talk to you
Should
about
I
it.
mess someone
Yeah,
up?
again, Archer, very flashy, can attack units. It's a flame. Arrow attack.
Orders?
Infantry, they can simply do this. Captain Roderick, he's an interesting one because he's a demi-hero, which is effectively somewhere between a hero and, well, a unit. I've given him an imbued defend, which is effectively defend, except it also reduces magic damage coming his way. He also has imbued plating, which gives him passive magic resistance, so he can't just be nuked down. He's got an AoE rally ability, which increases the movement speed of units nearby, and he also has this decimate ability, which does a shockwave stun effect that also damages. Finally, he has the ability Shield Bash, which simply bashes an enemy back and stuns him for a brief amount of time.
I'll do my best.
So let's just move him back into position and we'll go
I
to
am
the next
honored.
unit. Here we have
Yes, my
Knights.
lord.
They have Cleaving Strike, which is simple cleave. They have Reinforced Armor, which reduces damage from
I swear
just
it.
any attacks coming your way, so Knights are fairly
For
tanky,
the king.
and can also just, you know, run front lines and fight things, and do pretty well.
At once.
Again, every charge, that's one that we researched,
I
simply
swear
charges
it.
forward and attacks something.
At once.
I probably need to figure something out for that.
For the king.
And there's little things like can't simply.
Absolutely.
There are limitations in some of these abilities, but that's
Absolutely.
alright.
At your call.
Give me a Paladins.
For honor.
Very similar in a
It shall be
sense,
done.
however a bit stronger, a bit
For
more
my
tanky,
people.
but they share this coverage.
you wish.
Now, the thing with
As you
Paladins
wish.
is
For
they
honor.
have a Holy Light ability, so they can do a supporting role,
It shall be done.
which is just a default
For
Holy
my
Light that
people.
hits demons and undead.
For
And
my
they also
people.
can research this Holy Zeal ability, which increases their attack speed and makes all of their attacks do an additional 9 magic damage. Now, this effect is increased when attacking undead units
As you
or
wish.
demons, so quite useful in those instances. So, nice little
It shall
bloodlust
be
effect
done.
over there.
What ails
Here
you?
we have a Clerics, which, as we can see, they can go ahead to the
course.
ultimate 3 and be pretty handy. They have the default heal. They also have this Bless ability,
Right away.
which
Yes,
Bless
my friend.
simply increases
course.
armor and movement speed.
I am your servant. Someone
So, some niche situations that this
As
can be
you
handy.
wish.
They also have this AoE ability, which
Of course.
if we go ahead and damage everybody,
Sire?
Is my aid required?
simply does an AoE heal. If
I am your servant.
he stops healing, does a little AoE heal. What did I have there? I think it's here. There we go.
As you wish.
Good like that.
What
So there we
ails
have
you?
our clerics. We can go send them over to
Right
the
away.
Conduit of 3, the Empyrean Conduit, so that that mana regeneration, divine favor can increase.
The blood elves.
Here we
await.
have our Inquisitors.
I'll
So
handle
Inquisitors, they do piercing damage, so they're particularly good against
Leave it to
spellcasters
me.
with, you know, unarmed. Warlocks, they're just
I
default,
thirst
and
for
apparently
magic.
they have heavy armor, so I can't really
Very
demonstrate it, but
clever.
these guys should peel through
Easily done.
light armored casters.
Watch and learn.
But, so they are actually useful against other units. They also
Very
have this
clever.
passive ability that costs no mana, which
I'll handle it.
does spell damage
Easily
to
done.
enemies, so they get
Watch
much more
and
powerful
learn.
against default
Leave it
enemies.
to me.
Now they have a thing called Spell Shield, which blocks
Watch and learn.
if these guys were to
Your
actually
magic
cast
is mine.
a fire bolt as they should, but apparently it's
Very
stupid and
clever.
don't do that. The Spell Shield would block it,
I'll handle it.
and then it would go on
Easily
cooldown.
done.
If you were to get the Temporal Attunement research upgrade, well, that basically lowers the shield
Get
cooldown
on
and
with it.
gives you mana back when something's been used. So I'm not sure what actually just triggered that in.
I am the Iron
thirst
Hand
for
of
magic.
Justice.
Then we have Purging
I'll
Blade,
handle
which is
it.
a simple
Easily
single target
done.
ability. shoots out a glaive,
Very clever.
purges them, also reduces their attack speed.
Be quick. Time is mana.
Simple. Control magic basically
Leave it to
takes
me.
control of a summoned
Watch
unit
and
for a
learn.
portion of mana cost.
Kick down,
as per the
Sparky.
default.
It's about time.
Sorceresses have this auto-cast Ignite, which is a simple ability which gives a 5% chance
What
to
a good
miss their
idea.
attacks, and also does some damage over
Once
time.
again, it's up to the
So
elves.
here we see our boy is ignited, and there's a chance that he's going to miss some of his attacks.
Help me.
We have Dispel
help
Magic,
you.
which is a simple Dispel Magic.
If you
Dispels magic
insist.
in an area.
If
Finally,
you
we
insist.
have Ice Strike, which you learn from the Master Sorceress
What a good
upgrade,
idea.
which
About
is an
time.
ability that summons 7
Once again, it's up to
missiles
the
that go
elves.
over and attack an enemy. That's a fair bit of damage, especially let's say you have 8 sorceresses and you want to focus
down,
fire speed.
Sparky.
That would be 800 damage or so. And finally, as I showed you earlier, we have our Fire Elemental.
Do you require aid,
So,
human?
Pretty handy stuff.
Ben thy deli.
Going on to our range units, our siege units, we got our Ballista, pretty standard, nothing too exciting about that. Then we have our Zodiac. Zodiac has the Taunt ability, which can be pretty handy when you want to go and have everything attack it. It has Arcane Ripple, which is effectively Pulverize. Then we have our Seismic Slam, which is a line, stun, and damage. So let's just go and actually use it on some of these demi-humans over here to demonstrate my point. So, just a little thing like that. Overcharge increases its damage and armor, but slows our boy down. So he's a really slow boy, but makes him a lot stronger. And again, he can just sit there tanking while not taking much damage. So here this should have a cooldown, but apparently it doesn't. So please get off my Zodiac. I don't want him to die, but unfortunately I think he will die in this instance. So, I mean, he's being attacked by a fair few people, and imagine if he also had an extra 10 armor or so. Alright,
Have you reached
next
a
up we
verdict?
have our Constellations. Constellations have quite a few abilities. They're casters, they've got Mana Burn, which is a simple Mana Burn. Mana Flare, which anybody casting an ability is going to go ahead and take damage. So I don't think I need to demonstrate Mana Burn. Feedback burns a bit of mana with every attack. And then finally we have Arcane Barrage, or just Barrage, which is an AoE ability as such.
Let me invest.
Here we have a Lunar Dominion, which has couple abilities. It's got the here, but in the area.
Let the
We have
hunt
Lunar Strike, which is a simple ability that decreases weapon speed and attack speed. Then we have Moonlit Cascade,
I
which
can
debuffs all your allies in a chain. Lunar Veil, which is effectively, what do you call it, Fury Fire. And finally we have Night Serenity, which is an ability that increases both mana regeneration and health regeneration. So it's effectively
Understood.
regeneration, except it also
I can
regenerates mana.
taste
So
their
it can be
fear.
handy in that instance.
Ben thy deli.
Then we have our Dominion. Our Dominion can cast Solar Armor, which increases hit points regeneration and armor.
Let the hunt
It's
begin.
passive Critical Strike. And then it has this ability, Solar Surge, which basically makes it attack like a crazy person
I am the
for a few
law.
seconds. It's got a range attack, which also makes it nice and a little fiery. And it can crit. Now, when you use Solar Surge, you go a bit crazy. So, lots of attacks, quick succession. Then we have Censure.
Understood.
So, if we had a
Justice shall
that
be
was able to
swift.
attack us,
Understood.
here, we could simply
Justice shall
censure
be
them,
swift.
and
I can taste
they are
their fear.
attacking.
Let
Yeah.
the hunt begin.
The final ability we have is Scorching
Justice
Ray.
shall
So,
be swift.
we use Scorching Ray
Let
on
the
an area.
hunt
3 of these missiles
Understood.
come out and just absolutely decimate
begin. I
something.
can taste their
Now
fear.
here we are in nighttime. So as I was saying, we've got a couple of... You can't have a Solar Dominion and a Lunar Dominion at one time, so you have to decide really what you're after. And so if I were to attune to the Lunar Beacon, that's going to turn my
Research
Solar
complete.
Dominion into a Lunar Dominion. And if I go Solar Attunement, that's going to turn
Have
both
you
my
reached a
now
verdict?
Lunar
Justice shall be
Dominions
swift.
over into the other sword, the Solar Dominion. So there we go, we have our basic
Let
main
me
units.
investigate.
Then
Understood.
we have
I am
our
here.
heroes. So we've got our Justicar, which has a
By my honor.
Consecration Slam, which I'm
Very
demonstrating
wise.
over here. Has Divine Smite, Pursuit of Justice, and Requiem. So
For
our
the
Consecration Slam is just an AoE damage, which will then reduce damage in nearby enemies for a period of
The
time.
light is with
We have
us.
Divine Smite, which does some damage to a single unit and also gives a chance to
Right.
entangle them.
Right.
So if I were to use that, does a bit of damage,
Do
but
not
did not
fear.
entangle them that time. Finally, we have Pursuit of Justice, which will make my movement speed increase, and also
the
my
light.
next 4 attacks are going to do additional damage, as indicated by this. So, there we go. It
By
expired.
my honor.
Finally, I have Requiem,
Very wise.
which is a powerful AoE ability.
For the light.
Upgraded to its maximum
We
forms.
shall not fall.
And that's just going to do some spear damage in
Right.
AoE. And let's get our boy out of here.
By my honor.
Then we have these other abilities, Judgment and Divine
Very
Seals,
wise.
which can be unlocked when you
For the
go
light.
ahead
What is your
and
wisdom?
research
Shall not
down
fall.
your Realm Devotion and the Healing Contract,
Very
which
wise.
we'll be on to in just a
That's
moment.
curious.
That is too long in here, but we're just about here. Alright.
The light is with us.
Get out of here, demons. Finally, we
What's the
have our
plan?
Canoness. So she's
take
got
care of
4
it.
abilities. She's got a single target ability called Guiding Bolt, which when
I'll
it's
check it
used,
out.
will go ahead. We just saw that sometimes Guiding
curious.
Bolt can crash the game. I'm not necessarily sure why that is the case, because a lot of the time it works perfectly fine. But
What ails
sometimes
you?
it can do that.
Shh. I'm trying to
So,
think here.
Guiding Bolt is a single target ability which has 2 effects, so the descriptions are quite in depth. So, if you're actually playing, you can go have a big read through. So, Guiding Bolt can be used on an ally, which
Sounds
when used on an
interesting.
ally will heal.
Orders?
It will also increase their attack damage. Now, it can
What's the
increase it by
plan?
a significant amount as you increase Guiding Bolt. However,
Say the
when this
word.
expires, it then goes and explodes and heals all your allies in an area around them. So, initial upfront
can help.
heal, followed up
I'll
by
check it out.
What do you need?
big heal
Yes,
for
my
everybody.
liege.
Shh.
Now,
I'm
it
trying to
works
think here.
in the opposite way for an enemy. So
I'll take
if
care
I
of
were
it.
to go and use a Guiding Bolt on
Sounds
an enemy
good.
over here, hopefully the game won't crash,
I'll check it out.
and we'll see some
I'll
upfront
take care of it.
damage take place. So there we
Sounds
go.
good.
And when it's used on an enemy,
That's
it goes
curious.
and reduces their armor.
The light is
And then
with us.
explodes moments later, and it's done 120 damage to
I
everybody
am
else.
here.
Yes,
So
my friend.
that's
Do not
damage.
fear.
That's enough, guys. Please don't attack.
I can
Next
help.
ability we have is Atonement,
What's the plan?
which this one is an AoE
Sounds
ability,
interesting.
which just does some damage. So if we were to
Sounds
go and use it
interesting.
here, we've got 275 damage. We'll
What's the
just pop it
plan?
off on our footman,
I'll take care of it.
and there we go. I don't know why it did so little damage here. I'm going to have to look into that formula, but it reduces their armor as well, and reduces the movement speed. So with a Guiding Bolt and an Atonement, well,
I
your
can help.
armor's going down by a fair bit.
Shh. I'm trying to think
So
here.
I need to take note. Atonement
curious.
needs to do more damage. I don't think the trigger is working correctly
Sounds
in
good.
terms of scaling.
I'll check it
Next
out.
we have an AoE Rear of Protection. This is a
I'll check it out.
AoE.
Sounds
Rear of
interesting.
Protection.
deliver.
Not really too much
That's
to say about.
curious.
Finally, we have the Benediction, which is
I'll
a
take care of it.
channeled heal of sorts. So here we've got everybody damaged, and then we have Benediction. So she will just channel us through, I think there's 10 different pulses, so to speak. And so it's a very strong team fight orientated ability right there. Good one to have. In a similar way to the
Sounds
Justica,
good.
if you were to go and devote yourself to the Empyrean Galdrian, you're going to get 2 different abilities as well. This one, again, I'm having issues with. There's just so many abilities I made. There's like 100+ abilities. Sometimes the hotkeys and the names for them fall through. Because I'm pretty sure this should not be Ancestral Spirit, but that's quite alright. So, those are the basic abilities of pretty much every unit. I'll get onto these guys in a moment, but
Yes,
let's
my
first
lord.
make this altar of the 3. Go over here, put Warp 10 on, so you don't have to watch that, and put
Job's
some
done. What is
mana
it?
cheats on. So, as I said, this is a very important thing to the Askarian Empire, and also makes it unique. When you first create it, you need to pick an Empyrean. So that we have 3 Empyreans, which are the major gods. We have Aurelian, Galdrian, and Mirak, which all form different niches. And as you can see, there's various tiers in the devotion to them, which unlock different abilities. So, if we were to go and start off with Aurelian, we'll notice that we have this Aura of Retribution, which
This
basically
better be
makes
good.
everybody across the globe return damage when they're hit to melee units. Now, the Askarian Conduit has the ability to upgrade itself, which then gives you a special perk because we are now at Tier 1, Lordaeron Devotion, which gives us a ability. This one is Shockwave Barrage, which is a fairly low cost Divine Favor ability. And again, Divine Favor comes from having our clerics here, which increases the Divine Favor regeneration. Now, all of the abilities from the Askarian Conduit, they are all global, so I could simply pop that off there. This one just makes shockwaves coming from all directions and stuns the target. Now, some of these abilities are going to have limited use, however, some of them have infinite use. So, again, that's something that comes down to the individual Empyrean. Now, in addition to Empyreans, every time you upgrade your Askarian Conduit, it increases in level, and you also get the option to give yourself an Arcanum Devotion, which also gives you a minor ability. So in this case, we might go with Medieval. Now, Medieval gives us a couple of options. If I were to use it on a unit, and that unit were to have no mana,
my lord.
just trying to find something that
your
actually
call.
spend some mana
What
on,
would you ask of me?
we go ahead
Justice
and
will
make
be
so
served.
attack somebody. Yeah, there's no spring there.
Strike with great
There we
vengeance.
go, we've got 220 mana. We can pop on Gift of Medieval, which would restore 200 mana points,
I am not
and
afraid.
also you would regenerate an extra 125 mana over time.
I can help.
If we were to use this on a hero, it's a bit different. You get a mana regeneration over time
What's the plan?
effect, like this, but you also get a spell scroll. Now, the spell scroll can be interesting and give you something really cool, or it could give you something basic. In this case, we got a common spell scroll, which just gives me the ability to sleep. Give myself There Is No Spoon again. Let's try it again, see what we might get. Here we
I'm trying to
have
think here.
Uncommon Spirit Link, and we'll try one more time, see if we get something cool. You'll also notice after each time I use one of these Divine Interventions, I can't use another one for a few seconds. What was our third one? We
I'm
got
trying to think here.
very rare Protocol. Now this one is fairly
Sounds
strong,
interesting.
but it's also just based on base ability. You can get some custom ones in there as well, and chances of getting the really
What
cool
you- I can
ones
help.
are lower, common, more likely, and so forth. Now, we've got some more mana. Keep calling mana, Divine Favor. I should be able to get this given, you know, I'm creative. And here we get an upgrade to our Aurelian passive aura.
Do you require
So there's a
what's the
reason
plan?
all our heroes don't have any auras. It's because the Empyreans give you an aura. So this is just increasing the effectiveness of that aura of retribution. Now here we have the Tempest Grace ability. This one has 2 spell charges, but effectively what it does is it takes all units in the area and it's going to upgrade them.
Command
So
me.
this one goes to an elite knight instead of a regular knight,
Is
and if
someone
they can't be upgraded to their elite counterpart, then they get the Tempest Grace ability, which just increases their hit points, mana, and gives them a passive evasion. I'm just going to reset that cooldown and let's try to use it on somebody else. There we go.
Orders.
Then we've got our elite infantry over there. So here, no more spell charges, I can't use anymore, it's disabled. Now let's go and do a second Arcanum Devotion. This one we're going to go to Luxima. So
That's
here's the
curious.
Archon of Light. Now this
What do
one
you need?
is fairly simple. Again, it's AoE damage. So if we were to go use this on these mana runes, it does an AoE damage. And also, if our units were to be damaged, we could then use it to heal them. But in addition to that,
Should I
if
mess someone up?
one of
Say
our
the
units were
word.
dead, Luxima's Radiance would also resurrect
Yes,
one
my
unit.
stand
So
and deliver.
AoE
Orders.
heals, AoE damages, and resurrects one of your
What do you
units. So a nice little handy one. Going into the tier 3, you'll notice that we don't have this upgrade. We have that when we hit level 3 on our Askarian Conduit, and also level 5 when we get our passive aura upgrades. And it also details what other upgrades we have. This one, the Aurelian Tier 2 Devotion, has unlocked something at our King's Chapel. Here we now have Sacred Empowerment, which I hadn't shown you earlier. Researching this is going to upgrade our clerics and our paladins.
Research
So our
complete.
clerics now have
Is my
a
aid required?
greater AoE ability there. So I'm just going to upgrade these. One
Research
please.
complete.
We'll just upgrade these so we can show them in a minute. So clerics,
What
they can
ails
now greater
Research
restoration,
complete.
which now has
As
a greater
you
AoE. So it's going to be able to affect more units, and it also heals a bit more. Whereas the Paladins now have this passive Sacred Aura, which gives life regeneration to all units near them. However, it does not give it to themselves. However, there's another Paladin near him, and that's why he's also got it. Additionally, when a Paladin dies, when they have this effect, they do an AoE heal. So, hey, if you have a bunch of Paladins that are all dying, they're going to heal all your units. Tier 3 Aurelian, we've got this ability Singularity, which has 3 spell charges. Which after a small delay is going to go after everybody back like that. So, quite a fun one. 2 spell charges left. Let's see what else we have. Akros. This one's kind of a nice one for going into a melee frame.
That's curious.
If you have a bunch of units that are going to be combat a lot. This one creates Sanctuary, which increases hit point regeneration and also the armor of any unit in it. So here we've got 20 armor, which is pretty bloody handy.
I'm trying to
So
think.
I may have to move things as I go, but I want things to be a bit exciting. So
I can help.
let's get these guys out of here, but that's effectively that one creates a little sanctuary. So let's go upgrade to the final tier. Here we have now unlocked commander spells. That should be Justica, and we just recently changed its name. But previously you would have seen that
Kick
the
down,
Justica did not have these abilities, similar to how the Cannons does not have these abilities unlocked. So it's really a bit of a balance on what you want at any given time. So if I were to learn all the abilities, so the additions of these abilities is we have this Divine Seals.
Very wise.
You can do a Seal of Insight, which makes it so you have a chance to restore mana on a hit. Seal of Justice, which makes all of your attacks do additional fire damage. Seal of Law gives you additional armor, and then Seal of Truth gives you a attack speed. Now, each of these seals, in addition to all the cool crap that they do, makes your Judgment ability do different effects. So Judgment just does some damage. However, when you have a seal up, the Judgment may do something else. So in this case, if I have the Seal of Insight up, if I were to judge a unit, then that makes all units attacking that unit have a chance to actually restore some mana.
Very
In addition,
wise.
if I were to smite a target that is affected by Judgment
For the
or
light.
Insight, so here if I hit him, I have a
For the
chance to
silver
restore
hand.
mana, then
By
I'm
my
going
honor.
to use a special type
Very
smite.
wise.
Here I've done Branding Smite, which has decreased
I
its
am
armor,
here.
and I can also see it if it were to go
Do not
invisible.
fear.
If we go into Seal of Justice, so now I do additional fire damage. If I were to cast Judgment on this
For the
person,
light.
now this person is... I heal when I hit them.
The
for a
light
portion
is
of my
with
attack.
us.
If I were to then smite him,
By my honor.
it is a Thunderous Smite, which knocks him back and reduces their damage.
I am here.
If I were to go Seal of Law,
Right.
I now have additional armor. If I were to judge an enemy,
Right.
I really what it does. It has a high probability of missing its
Do not
attacks.
fear.
If I were to then smite the enemy, it
By
is
my
then stunned for 5 seconds, unable to do anything.
We
This
shall
period.
not falter.
Finally, we have Seal of Truth, which is a simple attack
Very
speed
wise.
increase for our boy. And when you smite someone,
For the light.
judge them, they're taking damage over time. Holy fire.
Do
And
not
if I were to
fear.
then smite them, they're
I
now
curse
taking
you.
additional damage, and it has reduced attack speed. Apparently it says speed increase, so I need to check that again. Lots of things to check.
I am here.
So that is Aurelian's effects for the Justica. Tier 4 Aurelian ability is Static Storm, which when used does some damage in an area in a couple of bursts. So it also puts a debuff on them, which reduces their attack speed and movement speed for the duration. So it expires pretty quickly, but you do a bunch of damage. Now, any allies in the area don't actually get
We
hit
shall not
bonus.
falter.
However,
Say
they
the
get
word.
bonuses to their attack speed and movement
Yes,
speed.
my liege.
So it's good for team fights as well. Right, let's pick a tier 4 Arcanum. Here we're going to go with Rasmus, and he has the ability Mystic Scroll, which effectively, if I wanted to have my men teleport over here, I could then simply teleport them, just like that.
Our forces are under attack.
Teleport things to the scroll.
The light is
Help
with
me.
us.
Help you.
However, the Mystic Scroll can be killed,
The light
and you
is
have
with
to
us.
use it in an area that you've already
Will it
explored,
be
otherwise
Harsha?
it does not work.
We shall not
So
falter.
those ones. Now let's see if this trigger works. No, it did not quite work because apparently
Our hero
it's
has
supposed to
fallen.
remove this. I do not have it here. It should be removing my unit. So now
Yes,
I'm
my
going to
friend.
quickly restart this mission. Don't know what that was, but we'll do that again. Now I'm going to go and do another set of devotions. 10. There is no spoon. That's fine. We're going to go and give ourselves to
What?
the Imperial
Job done.
Galadriel. So Imperial. Convert. No, cancel it. and nothing happens. You cancel it, except you have to wait a little bit before you have a chance to do this. So Galdrian gives us this Aura of Command, which basically means X speed and movement speed to all units on the map.
What?
If we were to upgrade, we have Righteous Guard, which is effectively a shield, which
I am here.
reduces spell damage that hits you and also absorbs 400 or so spell damage. 425. This time we go Orphean. Now, if we go Orphean, we now have a passive gold boost. And in addition, if we were to go to our marketplace, it's much more efficient for these trades, given that he is the Archon of Trade. Now, we can upgrade our Imperial Conduit. We now have Sacred Congregation and Devotion. We're going to go Sarturian. So now we have two passives. We have Prosperity and we have Battlefield Expertise. So it's kind of nice to mix and match what Empyrean you go for and the Archon that you go for, because some of these Empyreans have limited spell charges on their Divine Interventions, and some of them are just expensive as hell. So, you know, it might be good to have some of these items that you're not going to use. So Battlefield Expertise, this is a passive that basically increases your normal troops.
Say the
Here
word.
we've got our infantry.
Aye, my lord.
So we have Tenacity unlocked,
Of course,
which
my
effectively,
liege.
if used, makes him heal for a bit of hit point, 150 hit points over 45 seconds. So it makes him a lot
Right.
more durable. However, if they were
You
to
need.
take damage, that
On
affects
my way. Say the
vanishes
word.
knights. They
Your
just get
honor.
passive hit points and damage. Ballista, you might recall that this had 325 hit points earlier in this, and it also has pretty quick movement speed now, whereas default is slow. So Sarturian increases our infantry,
need,
our knights,
sire?
and our ballista's capabilities, as well as our
mess
archers.
someone up?
They get an ability called Pixel Shot, which effectively is a single
I'll
target
check it
ability
out.
that hits a target, reduces their armor. So
Stand and
again,
deliver.
you mix that in with Guiding
can
Bolt and Atonement, or with Branding
What
Smite,
would you
you know, you
ask?
could
I
get
am
like
ready.
minus 15 armor on the enemy. So depends what you want to do. So that's
What
the passive
ails
there.
you?
Going over to the Sacred Congregation, this is a one-time ability which summons
Help me
3 battle
help
saints. We have Saint Celine,
Do you
Saint
require
Aurelia,
aid, human?
Saint Anastasia.
Kick down,
So each of
Sparky.
these are slightly different. They're all battle saints, but Saint Anastasia, she has additional attack damage and range.
This
one
better be
has
good.
armor and mana. This
Will
one
it be
has
hotshot?
hit points.
Do you require
And
aid?
something else, I don't know
human?
what it is. And each one also has different unique
Kick down,
abilities. This one
Sparky.
has reduced mana for its Sacred Bolt and has increased spell range. This one
Help
has
me help you.
probably reduced mana for the Holy Reproach, and this one has reduced mana for Warding Bomb. So let's talk a little bit
This better be
a little
good.
bit about each of these. First, let's go below. Yes, just single.
Help me.
So here we
help
have a
you.
passive ability, Sacred Bolt.
Once
It's a simple,
again,
just
it's up to
single
the
type ability.
elves.
However,
What a
every
good
time
idea.
a battle saint
If you
attacks
insist.
somebody, they get
about
a
time.
stack of Sanctified
If
Fury,
you
which makes them
insist.
attack quicker.
Now victory
So
shall
if we
be
were to just keep on
ours.
casting this, then things would get
It's
exciting
about
really quick.
time.
And this lasts for about
Once
10
again,
seconds.
it's up to the
So
elves.
effectively, if you have full mana, you can make these guys
What a
pretty
good
tough.
idea.
Sanctified Fury also makes it so if you're attacking
What
a
a good
building
idea.
instead of magic damage, it does mystical
About
damage, which
time.
makes it do full damage against that
Will it
structure.
be hotshot?
Same way, if you were to be attacking something, a hero, which has reduced magic damage because of its armor type, it would instead do mystic damage as well, which makes you effectively do more damage. It also has Planar Dispersion, which is a magic resistance, so that they're a little less squishy. It has Holy Reproach, which
Once
is an
again,
ability
it's
which
up to
makes
the
a
elves.
enemy target take 30% more damage
Do
from
you
all things that
require
attack
aid,
it. And then it
human?
has Warding Bond, which
If you
wards
insist.
off about 125 damage.
Once again, it's up to the elves.
Let's see. No, it reduces 25% damage of all damage taken. It also gives you a shield for 200 magical damage. However, that magical damage shield is
About
broken.
time.
You also lose your 25% damage reduction. So those
What a
are your
good
battle
idea.
saints. You can only have 3 of these
Kick
at a
down,
time.
Sparky.
You can actually summon them from the Ultra 3.
This better be
So
good.
once you
Help
actually unlock
me
them,
help
you can
you.
have units
This
if
better
they
be
were started.
good.
However, the
Will it
default
be
battle
hot
saints,
shot?
which do not have this divine arm,
Kick down,
they're
Sparky.
a bit more basic
If you
and don't have any of
insist.
those unique reductions. So you can't use that again, but like it says right there, you can actually train it down. Next up we have Castigation, which is the Galdrian level 3, which is an AoE entangle. basically just entangles in an AoE for a period. And let's go to Veramis. So Veramis has quite a neat one. They have a Meteor Strike, which costs quite a bit of Divine Favor, but you summon a Meteor, falls down, falls through, and just decimates enemies and explodes at the end, stunning as well. It can also hit buildings. However, you're going to be careful with what you do with it, because it also hits your allies, which can mess them up pretty bad. So use it wisely. Going to our final devotion upgrade, we have Heroism, which basically increases attack speed and movement speed in an area.
Do you require
So
aid?
they are now pretty nifty.
Yes, my liege.
So that one's also for good for team fights. And then we have a passive. So we've actually got 3 Archon passives. This one is Spectral Legion, and what that does is anytime we have one of our units die,
Kick down, Sparky.
they will come back
Once
as
again,
a
it's up to the elves.
Spectral Revenant. And that basically makes them invulnerable unless they're purged, in which case they can
I'll
be
check it out.
However, they just sit here like this,
Smoky.
doing their thing.
Sure.
Will it be half
So
shot?
every time a unit dies,
Help me. Help you.
within 5 seconds of one another, you're going to get a new unit. That one, that was too soon. However, this one, I should have just like that. And they
Your
just go
Honor.
do their thing. They can't use
For
their
the
abilities.
Let me investigate.
So that's Trillium. So that Trillium, sorry, was Galdrian here, also unlocks Astral Convergence, which gives us an additional couple of abilities for our 2 constructs over here.
Research complete.
For our constellation, we get the ability Lightning Lattice, which I kind of have to demonstrate over here to explain it. It basically causes a lattice of lightning, which the more units in it, units that are hit by it, the more lightning spreads around. So, kind of good for clumping an area. Then we have, oh yeah, I haven't even changed that description. It shouldn't say Immolation. Yeah, it's Mana Dispersion. It should actually cost 100 mana to activate it. I don't know what's going on there. That's odd. But basically, once you use it, it doesn't drain mana and just be a passive Immolation, effectively for the Zodiacs. Going to the final upgrade, you also unlock
I'm trying to think.
Canoness's abilities, which allows you to resurrect demi-heroes. So if one
This
of our
better be good.
Battle Saints were to die,
What's the
you
plan?
would then be able to go ahead
Do you require
and
aid?
revive them.
human?
So if we just go kill her,
Trying to think here. What's the plan?
well, you don't want to lose one of your special Battle Saints. Well, you bring it back up. Same thing with
Kick
Captain
down, Sparky.
Roderick.
How
You don't
may
want
I
to lose
serve?
him.
That's curious. I can help.
And then the other ability we have is Barrier,
check it out.
which makes this Barrier Ward, which means
you
it absorbs a
require
certain
aid?
amount of damage, so this person not going to take any damage, so it
mess someone
absorbs
up?
650 damage,
That's curious.
Stand
and
deliver.
then it disperses the damage taken by that
Sounds
unit to
good.
all enemy units in
I'll
the
take care
area,
of it.
so effectively distributes 650 damage that you would take to enemies around you. Alright, so the final one that we now need to talk about is Mirror. Okay, one more.
What is it?
So last and most potent is Mirror, which is the Empyrean
Job's done.
of
Bugger then.
Annihilation. So going with him, you're not going to unlock
Do
any
not
special
fear.
hero abilities, but you will upgrade some spellcast upgrades. This one gives us this Aura of Annihilation, which basically makes all enemies on the map have reduced armor. Also gives us the ability Unmake, which effectively just unmakes a unit. So if I would use it on this Dust Devil here, it basically makes them ethereal and does heavy damage to them, and they can't do anything while that happens. We then have Virelia as our Archon, which when it uses
What do you need?
this ability right here, Healing Echo, after a brief delay, 1, 2, 3. 3 charges, and you get 3 ticks of this heal, which is very good for big combat situations. Going on, we have our tier 2 devotion to Mirak, gives us Mark Mirak, which effectively just silences enemies in an area, stopping them from using ability, which is handy, isn't it? And then we have Unjil, the Archon, where
Orders?
if we would go ahead and use it, it's a relatively cheap ability, we can simply send one of our units back to our town hall where they
Yes, my
regenerate to fill hit points over a period of time. We also unlock Spellcraft Mastery from our Inquisition Chamber, which gives us bonuses to our Sorceresses
Research
and our
complete.
Inquisitors. So our
Help
Sorceresses
me.
now
help you.
have an additional 3 Ice Shards, and the damage is increased. So, what is that? That's now an extra 60 damage from the default one, plus an additional 7 times 5 damage. So an extra 35. So you get an extra 95 damage to Ice Strikes, so heavy nukes for Sorceresses. And we now have
Be quick.
our Inquisitors
Time
getting
is
Arcane
mana.
Suppression, which is a purge of sorts, which you can only use on enemies, but it does damage to an enemy, and it
Easily
also
done.
purges them of all their debuffs,
Watch
all
and
their buffs and
learn.
debuffs. And if it's a, what do you call it? Summoned unit takes some heavy damage. So you'll notice again, this Aura of Annihilation is increasing as devotion to Mirak goes up. Third tier gives us the Celestial Guardian, which bringing it down summons the Celestial Guardian. So this is a powerful unit, a principality, which has a couple of abilities. We first have our Divine Edict, which is an AoE damaging spell, which you will not see on these footmen because they have 100,000 hit points. We then have Flames of Purgation, which is a channeled stun that also damages over time. As you can see there, stun, fair bit of damage there, 250 damage. Then we have a simple single target stun with your shield like that. We have Planet Dispersion, which is 25% magic resistance. And the final ability I want to show you is, if we were to go and pick a fight over here, is Dispersion. So this actually makes it so as the Principality gets its ass kicked when it walks into all these units, all units around it are actually having damage distributed from it. So it's 1450 hit points is actually going to be damaging all of it. Now, this is probably going to be more effective if there wasn't this many units, but you know, we just look over here, killing the Principality has in effect damaged our Orc Warlock over here by 75 damage. What is that? Ah, right, these guys are different teams. But we did 75 damage by doing nothing. So that is the Celestial Guardian. It also does damage as it lands. Next we have Rias, which is a Blizzard, which you can cast unlimited times. Here we cast right here. So this also damages buildings. It's a large AoE. It's a bit too exciting. Finally, we have Xeros as our final Archon we're going to have a look at, which has a simple ability which is simply just going to stop time for several seconds. It lasts less time on heroes. And then you have the final ability for Mirak, Planar Rift, which is the strongest Divine Intervention. Does a very large AoE, costs a hell of a lot of mana. If you use this, you want to use it to win. So effectively what it does is when I cast it, it's going to drag everybody into this Planar Rift. So as they're trying to move away, they're going to be taking damage and be dragged closer to it. And also see you've got this reduced armor. But at the same time, we've got from this Planar Rift a bunch of Rift Shards that are going to fall out randomly and smash and destroy any units that get hit by it. So let's see how much this is going to screw things up. Here we've got a Hand of Grimish, has 1800 hit points. Let's see how he turns out at the end of it. So each of these shards, when it falls, and does a shitload of damage. And here at the end, we see that that did not too much actually, 700 damage to him. Typically, I would have expected this to just absolutely annihilate most enemies of the unit. I need to change the script in there because you don't have any charge. You can only use it once and it's gone. The final thing going with Mirak is, as I said,
I am
you cannot
here.
actually go ahead and get abilities for your heroes.
I can help.
As such, we needed to do something else to compensate for that, and that is the Harbinger of Mirak. Once you go for this final devotion, you can actually train this demi-hero from your altar. You will recall that we have limited charges, Unmake. However, the Harbinger of Mirak can cast Unmake, however it's not quite as powerful as the version from the
What is your wish?
Appearing Conduit. They also have an ability, Ruination Beam, which is just a single target magic damage nuke. Spirit Link. That should not say Spirit Link. I'm pretty sure it I've changed that from Spirit Link. I feel there's just some issue. It's not a standard Spirit Link, because you don't use it on your units, you use it on enemy units. And what the Spirit Link does, it's not actually called that, it's called Fatal Bonds. Right there, it's in the description. What that does is, as you use it on an enemy, anytime this unit takes damage, it makes the other ones take damage. Now, this guy's fighting Rock Lake, so we're going to put Obliteration Halo, which is going to make everybody around him take damage. He's also got Devour Magic, which is pretty cool. It just means he can take debuffs from allies or enemies, and then give himself mana and hit points. Now, you may not have noticed, but as the Harbinger of Mirak died, he actually went ahead and he exploded. Now, this explosion also damages allies, so don't let him die around you. He basically just goes and becomes antimatter. In a similar way, I think the Obliteration Halo also kills your allies, so you've got to be careful in where the Harbinger of Mirak is placed, because you can kill allies. You can't actually cast that on enemies, I believe. We've also got this Dissolution Aura, which basically, when he's around you, you lose hit points, and it also details how that explosion works upon his death. He's also got Planet Dispersion, as per most enemy heroes having some form of magic resistance, so he does not die too quickly. So I think I've covered everything in the units and whatnot, except for the Arbor. Probably could go into the lore about the Empyreans and the like, however, I did feel that's an item for a different day. Found from doing this, there's still some descriptions that need cleaning up. But I have most of them, and I mean, to be fair, I do have most of them, but there are still some that need some changing.
Say
So,
the word.
How may I serve?
thanks everybody, and I'll just keep playing around with this, and hopefully I'll actually have a finished product at some point. Have a good one.